It's Saturday morning, live from across the Bostik Leagues. This is Back of the Net, where your weekend football begins.
So welcome to the show on week 2. Plenty to get through on the show today. After an eventful week of football, each team has now played 2 games. And it's 1 win and 1 draw for Dulwich Hamlet as they take on the league favourites today. We're here from Gavin Rose ahead of that game. Also, Staines Town, they won 6-0 against newly promoted Tooting and Mitcham earlier in the week. We speak to Drax Hippolyte and ask the question, how far can the Swans go this season? We also speak to Elliot Stiles as AFC Hornchurch man reached a record 500 league games for the club this week. We're at Lowestoft Town today, so we welcome Ady Gallagher and Dale Booth here to look at the game today as they take on Worthing. Both clubs had similar positions last season. What can they do this year? We've also got interviews from Malcolm Porter of South Park and Anthony Gale of Wharton Casuals. Plenty to get through on the show today.
Your favourite non-league football show, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do. Back of the Net, where it matters.
So it's a very good morning and welcome to the show today on match day 3 of the season. I was about to say 2, but we did have those games in midweek. First of all, it's a very good morning to Mick Sullivan.
Good morning, Ben and the team. Let's hopefully everyone's up for a good afternoon at Lowestoft Town.
And a pleasant journey up, Mick, today?
Great journey up. I had to get up, I think, 4 o'clock. So, yeah, it's all right. The manager's sitting here and I'm wondering how quickly and early they get to a game. Obviously, we were well up early today.
And James Cummins joins us as well.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's wide-eyed and bushy-tailed for today's non-league action here at Lowestoft.
James is all right, though, because James travelled up yesterday. So,
yeah,
he's all good. Remy's here as well. Morning, Remy.
Good morning.
And Luke's in the background, so we won't bother him. And it's a very good morning to our guests, Ady Gallagher and Dale Brooks from Lowestoft Town, the manager and the assistant manager. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. How you guys doing? You all right?
Yeah, not bad, thanks.
Yeah, good, thanks. Let's start by having a bit of a chat with you guys because, you know, it's a brilliant ground here. It's my first visit. It's really nice. It's going to be a nice day today, taking on Worthing. How are you settling into the season?
Oh, I think we've had a tough start, to be fair. I mean, Leatherhead away in the first game, and then obviously Billericay on Tuesday night. You're not going to get 2 tougher games to start the season off. So, and obviously we're a little bit disappointed we haven't got a point yet. I thought we played well, particularly well on Tuesday, and we pushed hard late in the game against Leatherhead, but unfortunately we conceded soft goals really in both games.
Yeah, as you said, it's a really tough start, probably as tough as they come. Does that put more emphasis on the game today because home to Worthing, both teams finished in a similar position last year? You'd fancy yourselves, perhaps, Dale, to win this one.
Yeah, I think on paper, obviously nothing's ever won on paper, but on paper it looks an easier game. But in this league, every game's a tough game. We're going through a transitional period. We lost a couple of senior players, and we're sort of our recruitment drive based on our budgetary restraints is sort of young and hungry players. So it's an important game today for us, as they all are, and hopefully we can get the 3 points. I think some of our previous performances have, meant that we can do that.
Is it too early for expectations this season, or do you always have the back of your mind? This is what I want to achieve this season.
It's this season particularly tough to measure. I think for us personally, you want to win every game. It doesn't matter who you're playing, and obviously if you win every game, you win the league. So that's the way we'd set out to attack each game to try and win it. But for us this year, if we can match what we did last year, given everything that's happened to us over the summer and with the cuts in the budget, etc., then I think that would be a fantastic achievement for us.
Plenty more for us to talk about with both of you today and the rest of the guys here. Don't forget you can get in touch on the show across social media. It's official BOTN if you want to get your thoughts into the show. Plenty of features to keep you occupied between now and 1 o'clock as well. Now, first up today, we're going to speak to Gavin Rose, the Dulwich Hamlet manager. Massive game for them. They've got 1 win and 1 draw so far this season, and they take on Billericay Town today. Here's what he had to say when I caught up with him yesterday. It's always a big week, the first week of the season. You must be delighted to have got off the mark and got 4 points from your first 2.
Yeah, not bad. We had a draw obviously at home at Staines against Staines. I think on reflection, it was pretty tight. It was a pretty tight game. Maybe we could have nicked it, but it was probably a fair result. And then we've done really well. Showed a lot of resilience on Tuesday night to get a good win.
Has it helped you this summer because of the money that Billericay have spent and the attention that has been on them? Because you are obviously one of the big favourites. You've been up there for the last 3 or 4 seasons, but the attention's kind of been taken away from you because Billericay are favourites in many people's eyes because of the money they spent.
It's a weird one because every year we always have a team who sort of either got a lot of money or big backing. We had Mason, Margate. We've had it every year anyway, even within the years that we've been close. So I don't know if it makes any difference. Because within our league, we always know there's 3 or 4 teams who are going to be really strong. We're followed by another 5 who are going to be good enough to beat anyone in any day. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it doesn't make any difference. Our goals are our goals to do as well as we can, try and get them promoted, and that doesn't change it regardless of who's in the league.
And money aside, because they're obviously going to be up there with you as well. I guess this early in the season, having the fixture that you've got on Saturday, is it going to give you a real indication of perhaps where you're at?
I'd say the same on Tuesday night. We just played it. It's an indication of another challenge, because the challenge on Tuesday was playing on a very difficult pitch against a very physical team, and we rose to that challenge on Tuesday. On Saturday we've got a different obstacle. We're playing against some experienced players, very good players. We just have to stick to our game plan and make sure we nullify their threats. So again, the significance in terms of who's going to be at the top of the league at the end of the season doesn't really bear much fruit to me at the moment. It's just about us, how we cope with different challenges, and this is another one for us.
And what's your targets for the season? Obviously a really disappointing end to last year in the playoffs after a good strong season. Is this year for you, we want to go up automatically and avoid those playoffs?
I think every year we do, to be honest with you. Every year we want to go up automatically. I think anyone who's got aspirations of getting promoted prefer to go up automatically. Like you say, it's a lottery in the playoffs. So we're pretty much the same as we have been. We want to go up automatically. We have done for the last few years. But it's a long, hard season, as has been proven over the last few years. It's not easy to pick up results week in, week out.
Have your say. Get in touch on social media. Just search official BOTN.
Gavin Rose in good spirits today, Mick. 2 games into the season, playing down a little bit though. The game with Dulwich today, with Billericay today, and saying that they've always been decent teams in this division. They've always had to deal with that. Dulwich have been obviously in the playoffs for the last 4 seasons, but he knows this is a big game today. Even third game in, it's a biggie.
Of course it is, bragging rights, and when we were talking about who were going to be up there, those are the 2 teams that we said would be up there, and every manager plays it down. It'd be a silly person to actually talk to themselves up. I'm waiting for one day for a manager to come on here and saying we're going to win the league this year. In fact, I'll praise him if he did do it, because it'd be fantastic. But other than that, yeah, you'd think maybe Gavin should be immune to all the pressure, but he seems to be able to take it on board and go on week in, year out, and they're always up there. I think the last 5 or 6 seasons they've been in the playoffs and not quite done it, but I think this is the year they really do need to make that break to get into the Conference South, because I would have thought the backers above them will probably be thinking, no, it's happened too many times. So as much as maybe Gavin will play it down, there is a little bit of pressure, I feel, behind the scenes.
And you obviously first-hand experience of playing Billericay, like you talked about. As a team, there's been much made of them this season. The money they've spent. What did you find when you played them?
They're a very good outfit. They've got some good players. The biggest challenge for Billericay, I think, is that week in and week out now, it's going to be every other club's FA Cup final. They're going to want to beat Billericay because of the way they are with the money. Barring injuries to them, and Glenn deciding not to invest any more of his money when he has to, they should be there or thereabouts. So they were a very good outfit. But having said that, looking back from last year, if Dulwich are anything like they were last year, they're a very good outfit. And we were saying in the week that, I think the Billericay's biggest competitors are Dulwich, and it'll be good to see how it folds out today.
Yeah, James, we mentioned this favourites tag, and Margate probably thrown in there as well, as we said last week. But when two big teams play each other, same in any league, right up to the Premier League, it doesn't matter how early in the season it is, it's always vital.
Yeah, absolutely, especially considering that both teams have only got one win on the board so far this season. I think Dulwich were very lucky to get 3 points on Tuesday. Watching the highlights, Mohamedou Fall managed to get a brace from coming off the bench. So I think Gavin Rose will be particularly happy that they've managed to get points on the board. But of course, bragging rights, like what Mick said earlier on, it's an important game, even though if it is very, very early on in the season. It'd be interesting to see how both teams come out and look at this game today. And it'd be interesting to see how they approach it. I think Gavin will be a bit more nervous because, of course, like what was said earlier on, they've been up there so many times throughout the seasons. Is this going to be the season where they finally deliver and get promoted? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll watch it with interest later, and as the result comes in. Right, next up on the show, we're going to play the non-league football quiz. This is one of my favourite parts of the show, and we have decided that Dale and Ady are going to team up, and James and Mick, you're going to play on your own, mainly because you're nowhere near each other to confer with answers. If you're watching the video of this, then I'm trying to hold the answer sheets just so that nobody can see the answers on here. James, you need a pen?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Cheers.
So there's 5 questions today in the non-league football quiz, and we'll see who comes out on top.
The non-league football quiz.
Are we all ready? We've got pens, we've got paper. You can play along wherever you are. Official BOTN across social media.
Question 1.
How many Premier Division goals were scored on the first weekend of the Bostik League season? How many Premier Division goals were scored on the first weekend of the Bostik League season?
Are we getting, what points are we getting for closest?
Any options?
No options.
Random stab in the dark.
No spectrum. No. In between.
There's no options. But when I prepared this question, the producer Luke asked me the same thing, and I thought, well, hang on a minute. You can really guess a ballpark figure here because we all know the results. We were all sort of looking at some of the results.
That's hard.
I don't think it is that hard. If you work it out,
that's really hard.
It's not hard for you because you know the answer. Whereas if I was to be like, what was the boss? How many goals were scored in the National League?
But it's the
on day
fun
one,
to
you'd
see.
be like,
Right, I'm gonna do stab in the dark.
Whoever's the closest will get a point.
Right, that's better.
Right,
Yeah,
that's better. Okay,
That's
right.
it.
Stab in the dark.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I think I've got a figure. Yeah.
Have we all got a figure? We
Yeah.
all written one
Yeah.
down? Excellent. Okay.
Question 2.
How many sides does a decagon have?
What?
How many sides does a dodecagon have?
Yeah.
Is this a football quiz?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. This one was just for you. Luke suggested it.
Apart
Wow,
from football,
thank
Ady's well
you,
into
Luke.
his maths.
Are you sure this is a
I've
non-league
just
quiz?
seen Ady was quick in putting the pen to paper there, so he obviously knows it.
Nothing to do with his A-level maths.
So you got an answer, James? So we.
Go for it. I've just
Are
done a
you
stab
playing,
in the
Remy?
dark.
No,
Okay.
I've got the answers, but I still don't know what it is.
God.
Okay, right.
Question 3.
Which team currently sit top of the National League with 3 wins and a draw in their first 4 games? Which team currently sit top of the National League with 3 wins and a draw in their first 4 games?
In the National League.
As I said, James, the National League. You got that quickly, Mick?
I've got it.
Mick's got it, so
Got it.
he's there. Right, we all got answers for that one. Bit of conferring from
To
Ady and Dale.
be fair, I'm not
Can we
so
begin
sure
with
I've got it. I think I have.
So it was which team currently sit top of the National League? They've got 3 wins and a draw in their first 4 games. Okay, right.
Question 4.
Name the 2 sides relegated from the Football League last season, now playing their football in the National League. 2 sides that were relegated from the Football League last season, now, of course, playing their football in the National League. Official BOTN across social media. Let us know how you're getting on with this week's non-league football quiz.
Got it.
Got it? James has got it. Mick, have you got it?
Well, do you get a point per team or 2 teams, you said?
Yeah, you get a point per team.
Right,
yeah.
okay, fine.
Right, we're ready to move on.
Yep. Question 5.
There are only 2 teams across the Bostik leagues that begin with the letter P. Can you name them both? There are only 2 teams across the Bostik leagues that begin with the letter P. Can you name them both? And yes, Mick, we'll give you a point for each one that you name.
I'm going to cheat here.
Mick, you can't look at your show.
No note looking. No.
You got to do your prep.
Right, Mick. Next, can we make a note somewhere that next week we take all of Mick's show prep away from him before the non-league football quiz?
Go on.
Have we got an answer for that?
Got one.
Okay, so that was the non-league football quiz today. Yeah, I think we did all right with that. Everyone seemed to write a few answers down.
Yeah.
Let us know how you got on across social media. It's official BOTN, and we'll be back with the answers to the non-league football quiz after this.
You're listening to Back of the Net, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do.
Times are changing. We now live in a digital world where 9 out of 10 people use the internet to look for local goods and services. Whether in front of a computer at home or on a mobile phone on the go, people expect to find what they want, when they want, quickly and easily. The question is, can your business be found? At Promote UK, we specialise in getting local businesses found online. One highly affordable package will give your business a stunning mobile responsive website, which we guarantee to get to the first page of Google and keep it there. And we take care of everything: copywriting, design, hosting. We even offer unlimited amends all year round for no extra charge. So, whilst you're busy focusing on your business, we're busy making sure it can be found online all year round. Start your Google Page 1 journey today with a free online health check by visiting promoteUKLimited.com. Promote UK. We're really good at what we do.
Are you looking for a little bit more than a good meal at a pub? The Half Moon is a hidden gem located in the picturesque village of Charlwood on the Surrey-Sussex borders. Proud of old traditions, this old English pub offers tasty fresh food with locally sourced ingredients, comfortable dining and traditional bar area, as well as a lovely garden for your enjoyment. Evening with friends or lunch with family, whatever the occasion, you can expect our friendly and welcoming staff to help. Half Moon Charlwood. Check out our Facebook page for upcoming events and live music.
Need to refuel? Whether you're heading home or away, get ahead of the game and refuel at Dorking's Service Centre. Dorking's local retailer of quality BP fuel, Costa coffee and food to go. Find us at the traffic lights close to Dorking Halls or at dorkingservicecentre.com.
From Premiership to Playground, MH Goals has everything you need for an outstanding football match, including aluminium and steel football goals, nets, line marking machines, team shelters, boot wipers, and much more. Buy with confidence direct from the manufacturer with great prices available across our whole range of sports equipment. What's more, we offer fantastic discounts for all FA affiliated clubs. We pride ourselves on British manufacturing. We make all our football goals here in the UK and conform to the latest British and European safety standards. So call MH Goals direct on 01502 711 298 or visit our online store at mhgoals.com.
Head to backofthenetsouth.co.uk tomorrow morning for video highlights and full match reaction of today's games. Back to your favourite non-league football show, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do. Back of the Net, where it matters.
So we've just done our non-league football quiz, and we're about to find out how Mick's cheating has got him on in this week, whether it's done him any good. Next week, by the way, we will remember to take his notes away.
It's got to be done.
What Mick does is he preps for the show and he preps all his notes, and it's obviously got lists of all the teams, and a lot of the questions are based around the teams, so we need to take them away.
Thanks, team.
I feel like, because I've just looked at the answers, that there could be a few bonus points in this round, because I know Mick loves a bonus point.
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Okay.
Okay, so let's run through the questions again.
Question 1.
How many Premier Division goals were scored on the first weekend of the Bostik League season? What do we get, Mick?
Well, I punted 23.
I went 30. We went 30. Dale said that. If we're
I went for a complete stab in the dark. I went 28.
And Remy, the answer was?
27.
Yeah.
Yes!
Merston were the highest scorers.
Can you see the screen there?
No.
This is my bonus question. Bonus point. Which team scored the most goals on opening day in the Premier Division?
I'm going to go...
Staines.
Mersham.
No, it's...
Yeah.
Bonus points there. It's Merston.
Tuesday.
Merston with the...
Can't believe I got that one wrong.
Exactly. Embarrassing.
And we covered this league.
Merston with the high scorers.
Bit more pregnant. Tuesday night. That's what I was thinking.
Merston with the high scores of their 4-1 win over Wingate and Finchley on the first day of the season.
Question 2.
So, how many sides does a dodecagon have?
Can I just ask, what is a dodecagon?
What is it?
You're going to find out how many sides it has.
It's a 12-sided shape.
How many? What did you get, Mick?
12. I can't believe that.
What did you get, James?
I can't believe that.
We can't believe it either.
I went for 7.
Wow. I'm gobsmacked by that. Absolutely punt.
And how does it relate to football?
We need, first of all, the official answer, Remy.
The official answer is 12.
Well done, Ady.
Is it the sides of the football?
Maybe some footballs. We thought we'd throw it in there just to...
Ask Ady, because he seemed to know the answer.
I'm a maths teacher, so
wow,
that really helped me. So
there you go.
Cheers for throwing that in.
But how does it relate to football?
Because some footballs have 12 sides on their balls.
Oh, so it is about the ball?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Why I got 7, I don't know.
I'd like to say that the official ball for the Bostik Leagues has 12 sides, but the research didn't extend that far, so perhaps it does, perhaps it doesn't. Let's say it does, it's fine.
Question 3.
Which team currently sit top of the National League with 3 wins and a draw in their first 4 games? Mick, we'll start with you.
Well, I was just thinking Bromley.
Ady, Dale, what did you get?
I wrote Hartlepool down. We don't have a clue, to be honest.
I went with Aldershot Town.
Remy, the answer is...
Aldershot Town.
Yes!
Local knowledge.
That's the only time I'm ever going to cheer Aldershot Town, to be perfectly honest. Being a Woking supporter.
Oh, Woking, eh?
Yeah, so that's
Question
the only time I'm gonna cheer
4.
them.
Question 4.
Name the 2 sides relegated from the Football League last season, now playing their football in the National League. Mick?
Orient and Hartlepool.
Same.
Yeah, we got the
Same.
Yeah.
And it was, of course, Hartlepool United and Leyton Orient. One more to go.
Question 5.
There are only 2 teams across the Bostik Leagues that begin with the letter P. Can you name them both? Mick, you're excluded from this round. James, what did you get?
I've got one, but I think I realise who the other one is. I went for Phoenix Sports for 1.
Yeah.
But then I for some reason I put Bowers and Pitsy, but of course that's not right because it begins with B.
I like the way that I get where you're coming from with that. So what did you get, guys?
We had Peacehaven. Is that one of the teams?
It's not, no.
Not. Oh.
They got relegated.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Bonus point for that because they got relegated last season.
No.
Yeah,
Come on.
Season before, anyway. It was the season before last season, anyway.
No bonus points. Remy, the 2 teams.
Potters Bar Town. Phoenix Sports.
Potters Bar. Phoenix Sports.
And right, so non-league football quiz this week. Remy, how did everyone get on?
So in going from top spot to bottom spot is Mick with only 3.
That's
in
harsh.
Second
That
place
harsh.
is Ady and Dale, and then James takes the lead, getting 5.
Well done.
Yes.
Let us know how you got on. Official BOTN if you did better than Mick, especially. We want to hear from you.
That's so unfair. I'm not allowed to use those 2. I would have won this quiz today.
Okay, next up, we speak to Keith Rowland. It's been a difficult start for him with Wingate and Finchley this season, and I caught up with him yesterday. It's been a difficult start to the season with a couple of defeats. What do you put that down to?
It's not playing well, really. We had 5 of the main players out on the first game, and not in practice. a great deal. You know, I didn't really expect a lot going into the game, and I didn't get a lot out of it. It's no disrespect to the players that played. I was just missing 4 key players in the first game. On Tuesday, I had 2 of them back, and my skipper Armand came back in, and the boy Kizzy, we got him from Cheshunt in the summer. We've done okay up to a point, but again, individually and as a group, I had too many people who didn't play well on the night, and if that kind of happens, you know you're gonna struggle really, and we did. So yeah, it's no different to last year. We lost our first few games last year. We didn't particularly do that well, but I still had a group still sort of trying to get together last season, and we started poorly at the start last year, but it was a harder start than this year. So I'm under no expectations of how we're going to do this year. It's the same as last year. We'll just see how it goes.
Does it raise expectations because of where you finished last year?
Unfortunately, I think it does, yes. And I've kind of come in pre-season, and I've got to get rid of that because, yes, we done really, really well last season, considering that, like everything, managers tend to tell little white lies about their budgets and always say they've got a worse budget than everybody else. My budget was last season, and I think particularly this season is in the bottom 5 budgets in the league. For what we did last year, finishing 5th was a tremendous achievement. You can't stand still in football. You have to move on. You have to get on with it, and you have to do it all over again. And if anything, it's made life a little bit harder for my group because people are started to show them a little bit more respect. You know.
I was going to ask you what people can expect of Wingate and Finchley this season, but what do you expect of your players this season as far as style and how they approach games?
I never set any type of targets. I just go from game to game really with the group I've got. It's a funny season this year, considering there's going to be a whole real rejig of the leagues next year, whereas only one goes down this season. So I've always since I've come into Wingate, I've always looked at relegation before anything because that's what my budget dictates. A small group of players, stay away from injury, but the expectation levels have gone up a little bit, and from my point of view, it hasn't. I'm still the same, and I hope my players are still the same as me. That we've always got a point to prove. What's
your the Keith Rowland style of football?
I play high tempo really, without giving too much away. I've been an assistant for over 10 odd years, and this is my 2nd season as a manager, and the 2.5 seasons as a manager. And I just believe you got to be competitive. You have to be competitive. You have to go into games with the right to. You don't go into games with. You can't just turn up. You have to have a go. It's as simple as that. I don't overly believe in tactics at non-league level because you try and put too much information into players in non-league, and it doesn't work because that's why they're non-league players.
It's a really interesting point of view, actually. That's that's brilliant.
We don't. I'll work with a few managers over the years, and I work with Alan up at Braintree in the conference for 5 years. And we very, very rarely, in fact, we never worked on team shape. I tend to think that when you get a small group of players together and you tend to get them to play in a way that they know what's expected of them, then it sort of works. You know, I've always said to the players I work with, you know, we always had this phrase at Braintree is stay in the game, stay in it to win it. Always keep it 1-0 against or 1-all, because teams always open up against you, and in the end you'll always get a chance, because including Braintree, including Wingate, everybody was disappointed to draw or to lose to teams like that, because they're small teams, and big leagues, you know.
Back of the net, where it matters.
It's always a big week, the first week of the season. You must be. So where do we start there with that?
I totally admire his honesty, and he has got a point that you can feed too much information into these players. With the background that I've come from, I've heard people talk for about half hour, and I've seen boys switch off with too much information being fed at them, tactical or whatever. So he has got a point about over tacticians, but I love that. He's a passionate guy. When we played him last season, he was very passionate about it. He gets a lot out of that team. But obviously it's not happening for him in the first couple of games of this season, but I think a lot of that's to do with their centre-back, as I think Dowse took him to Hampton Richmond. So he's a big leader, strong centre-back, and maybe that's why they're shifting a lot of goals at the minute.
And I've got to ask you guys about that. So that you're saying we don't put a lot of information into the players because that's why they're non-league players. They can't cope with it. Is that a fair comment?
I think some non-league players have played professional football, so I think they can cope with information. But I think I understand what he's saying, and Mick is right that maybe over information sometimes is too much. You don't need to try and keep things as simple as you can. People always say football's a simple game, but there are things that you do need to look at and pass on information sometimes.
Ady, can I just ask, basically, when you're doing your team talk with Dale, do you sort of, before they go out, do you sort of have only 10 minutes? Is it 5 minutes? Is it quarter of an hour? Can you give us an idea of how you do your talking to the players?
I think the start now, I think my input before the start is getting smaller really, because then we'll just I'll pass over to just 2 or 3 minutes. I'll pass over to Dale to go through some information about the opposition and how we want to play. And so 10 minutes all in, I think, is probably everything done.
Yeah, I think you're all correct in saying that too much is no good. I think what the lads need is they need a general direction. How we want to play, what we want to do. Maybe a few little strengths and weaknesses about the opposition, but really it's how we're going to impose ourselves on the game.
Good. Yes, pretty much what I would be like.
Where do you see the club going then? Where do you want to take the football club whilst you're in charge?
Initially, stability. I mean, we were talking about Dulwich and earlier on being in the playoffs 4 years running. We ourselves were in the playoff final 4 years running before we got promoted to and they put us in the Conference North. But things were very different then. We had a bigger budget to play with bigger squads. So since coming back into this league, obviously the budget is half of what it was 2 seasons ago. It's now, for me, it's about a transitional period. I've been here for 18 years. It's about going through this transitional period, rejuvenating the side, maybe getting some younger, hungrier players into the group who obviously take less money. But also, we've created good relationships with Norwich, Ipswich, Southend over the last few seasons, having lads in on loan at different times as well, and being able to see lads potentially develop from here and go either back into professional football or get good contracts with their clubs and develop their own careers.
And that's an important point, because actually that came up last week when we were at Tooting and Mitcham United, and we spoke to Frank and Ollie Bennett, who'd come from Crystal Palace and then signed there permanently. It's not always about saying perhaps at this level of football that we got to be up there and we've got to get promotion. It's about developing the club and developing, right, as you rightly say, developing the players as well. Yeah,
I was just going to ask Ady whether the chairman has given you the tools to be in the top 5. Because if he hasn't, that would be disappointing from the supporters' perspective. So
yeah, of course. I understand that, and as a club, we obviously want to be around the playoffs. Every team in this league wants to be, but we have to be realistic as well with the money that we've got. I think that we've invested heavily in the past, and we have to maybe live within our means a little bit. So the most important thing is the club. The club has to survive and stay. Maybe stay at a certain level. I think at the minute we're probably at the lowest input as regarding budget that we've had in the last 10 years, probably maybe more. So what's important now is that we can still get a competitive team out every week and look to try and develop those young players and rebuild again, because we've been successful. We've had some successful seasons here, and we want to. I said to the chairman in the summer, are you still ambitious? Do you still want to go forward? And we all agree that we are. but you can't we haven't got the money to just throw at it. And if we did, we'd be competing with Billericay this year. So, no one can compete with that in this league.
Well, in all honesty, yeah. I mean, we all talk about budgets. It does help, but you've got to use it wisely as well. So, you can have a big budget. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be in that top 5. No. It's about how you're using it, and I can understand the connections you're having with the local professional side, so that's really good. But just to go back to that budget part, are you saying that maybe the budget is not as large as what it might have been last year?
No, it's less than it was last year. And the difficulties of that is if you've got players who are on contracts, you're already committed to paying those players, and they'll be here. Some of them are still here, obviously, this season. The difficulty is when those contracts run out, you obviously can't offer players the same money. They'll move on. Fair enough, it's down to them. But you still, because there's less budget money, even if they've moved on, you've still not got all of that money. Sometimes good players have moved on, and all that money hasn't become available to us. So it's really tough to juggle. One player left us last year. We probably brought 5 in on the one person's wage, and we needed to, because it was well documented last year. We were so low on numbers after issues with the scholarship program at the club that we didn't have any subs in a couple of games towards the end of last season, which is crazy.
And Mick, I'm gonna put this question to you actually, because we hear this a lot from managers, and we totally respect what you've just told us about budgets and how it works at this football club. And it was something that Keith mentioned as well in his interview, one of the lowest budgets in the league. It is something you hear from most managers. Is there a real divide in this division whereby there are 4 or 5 clubs that have substantially more than others? Because you do hear it a lot when you speak to managers. I've got one of the lowest budgets in the league. Is there a lot of teams with a similar budget then, or is how does it work?
I sort of, and I'm not aiming this at Ady, but I do think it sort of relieves the pressure a little bit when these managers talk that way. So I don't tend to talk about budgets, but coming on this show, I'm really going to try and give some awkward questions to the managers this season. So from the Lowestoft supporters, there is a pricked up, like listening what Ady's honesty about the budget cut from last season. That might think, what are their aspirations then? So maybe the chairman might have a few supporters speaking to him during the game today.
But when you look down the league, you look at the likes of Leatherhead and obviously Dulwich, and we talk a little bit about Dorking Wanderers. I'm just trying to think who else we'd maybe throw into that bracket, but the likes of the managers of Wingate and Finchley that we've heard from, now Lowestoft Town, of the Mersthams, Tunbridge Angels, Danestown, Drax mentioned it as well, one of the lowest budgets in the league. So it seems as though there are only 4 or 5 clubs that are able to have a bigger budget, and the rest of the teams perhaps.
Can I just say, another difficulty that we have is our location. If you're more central, if you're around the London area, you've got numerous clubs, professional and non-league, around you where you can draw in players from, young players. So the supply of players around you is massive. Here, we're probably 2/3 of our surroundings is the North Sea, so we're not going to get any talent from there, are we? That's realistic. This league has been fantastic over the last few years because it's allowed clubs like ourselves, to step up into that league. That wasn't possible 10, 15 years ago for clubs in our league, this area to come into this level of football. We came through, obviously Bury, Sudbury at that particular time, but so many other teams that we played in what is now the Thurlow Nunn or the Regions League, whatever it is now locally called. So many teams have come through from there, from those leagues, which brings the the parameters of the league slightly more to the East Coast, which helps us enormously, because it brings a level of football up in this area.
Ben, can I just step in here? I know you want to say that. I think it's quite an interesting point, a valid point, and I think next season will help you a lot with the extra division that Bostik are going to run. I can only imagine that the geographies will tie in better and maybe be in Lowestoft's favour next year.
Yeah, and I was going to say as well, a final point in this, because we've got to move on, is that we talk about budgets quite a lot with the bigger teams, but at this level of football, surely it really should be about, you mentioned before, developing players, bringing young players through, looking at clubs that perhaps Mick just mentioned that next season there are more teams on the same level, but the clubs that are at the lower levels that you just spoke about, that's what it should be about. So we talk about teams with budgets, but actually maybe the Billerickys and the Leatherheads of this league are kind of not doing it justice, because you should be looking to bring those young players through, because if they can't play at this level, where are they going to play?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and I totally agree with you. It just depends on your club and what your club's philosophy is. I mean, for instance, Ady alluded to the relationship that we have with the professional clubs within this area. And one thing that we've found is that when we've dipped in and we've brought a youngster into this league, they go back, they then go and train with the first team, and the manager's response so far has been, well, he's come back a man, because he's come out and he's played men's football, he's played competitive football, and so you're getting a young lad here now who's sitting in the dressing room and he's sitting next to someone who's got kids to feed, a mortgage to pay. So the competitiveness of this league is a great development tool for youngsters, and I think the pro clubs are recognising that as well. You know, send them out, because we've got this problem. We talked about the location is. Going back a few years, lads would leave football clubs at 18, 19 because there was no under 21s and under 23s. Now they're staying in the game a little bit longer. So the local players around this area who are coming out 2 or 3 years later. But if you can get the relationships to marry up with the lack of budget that we have, which is true, and I must say quickly on that I think this club has been so open and honest with the supporters. They had a fans forum and they laid their cards fully there on the table, and this club, I've only been here for 2 years, and I've been fortunate. I've worked in pro football all my time. This club is full of hard-working, honest people who do their utmost, and there's no smoke screens here. What you see is what you get, and I think the fans here appreciate it. Sorry, I had to add that.
Perfectly relevant and really nice to hear it. We could talk about this for a long, long time, so we'll have to move on. But again, if you've got any thoughts on it, it's official BOTN across social media. We don't even mind if you're watching this again during the week. You want to tweet us, that's absolutely fine as well. Next up, we're going to play Mick versus the manager. We'll do it after this.
Back of the Net, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do. Head to backofthenetsouth.co.uk tomorrow morning for video highlights and full match reaction of today's games. Back of the Net, where it matters.
Mick's just asked an important question. Did he win it last week?
He did, but he only got 1 point, and people on social media did a lot better. However, it was 1 point more than Frank Wilson, so technically you are beating the manager, yeah.
Thank you very much. Top of the league already. Good.
Yeah, so this feature's called Mick versus the manager, and Remy's here to tell us what the games are today.
Okay, so game 1, we've spoke about it already, but it's Dulwich Hamlet and Billericay Town. So the two favourites tipped to win the league have both had slower starts to the campaign than expected. The first game of the season saw big budget Billericay lose at home to former manager Craig Edwards' Kingstonian. However, the experience of Louis Theophanos in the 84th minute ensured their 3 points on the road on Tuesday. As for Dulwich, despite scoring the first goal of the campaign in the 4th minute, the Hamlet slipped 3 points on the opening game. 2 goals in the final 6 minutes for Mohamedou Fall on Tuesday night. However, you turned a losing game into a winning one. So what's your prediction for this game?
So let's go to Mick first.
Can I just ask who's playing at home?
The home team is Dulwich.
It's a 1-1 or a 2-1. I'm going to go 1-1.
What are you guys going to go for?
Yeah.
2-1 Billericay.
2-1 Billericay.
And I feel like we should make James tweet in, but because he's here, James, we'll ask you what you think the score's going to be as well. Only if you do it quickly, though.
0-0.
Okay, 0-0 for James.
0-0.
Right.
Yeah.
What's up for game number 2 then, Remy?
Game 2 is Leatherhead and Harrow Borough. So 2 games in, and Leatherhead occupied top spot after wins against Lowestoft and Worthing. Separated by goal difference, Harrow Borough are second, following wins against Wingate and Finchley and Harlow Town. Only 4 points separated the clubs last season. However, one club was 13th place and the other was 21st, and it was Harrow Borough who toyed with relegation after avoiding the drop zone by just 1 point.
What do you think for this one, Mick?
Look, if I didn't go for the Leatherhead on a convincing win, they'd shoot me when I go down there probably this week. So I think 3-1 Leatherhead.
2-0.
2-0 Leatherhead.
I'll go 2-0.
Big favourites, Leatherhead today. 2 more games to go. Game number 3.
Game number 3. Yet to get off the mark, Wingate and Finchley will be looking to narrow their goal deficit and get some points on the board. However, host Needham Market haven't lost a game in 6, which is pre-season and league, collecting points from Burgess Hill Town and Thurrock. Last season, Wingate reached the playoffs. However, their defeat to Bognor Regis Town denied them of the National League South, and since their form has been hit and miss with only 1 win in August. So that's Needham Market at home to Wingate and Finchley.
Well, I don't know if Keith's worked on his back 4, but I would say, I'm going to say 3-0 Needham Market.
2-0 Needham Market.
Big favourites again, Needham Market.
I'm going to give Keith a favour. I'm going to go 1-0 Wingate and Finchley.
Get their first points on the board if they do that. And the last game.
And the final game. Enfield Town had a similar playoff story to Finchley after finishing last year's campaign 4th. They were knocked out in the semi-finals by Dulwich Hamlet. Town are also yet to win a game this season. However, a draw with Folkestone at least puts 1 point on the board despite a 3-0 thrashing in midweek, a Nico Muir hat-trick. Midweek was also tough to swallow for Met Police as they succumbed to 4-1 defeat to Premier newcomers Dorking Wanderers. Their opening victory, however, puts them mid-table with 3 points, where they beat Worthing 3-1.
Who's at home?
Home is Enfield.
It's quite difficult, really, because Enfield have rebuilt their side because the manager took a load of them down to Braintree. So, you know, Met Police are really not putting up too many trees. I can see it being a tight game. I'm going to go 1-1.
1-0 Enfield.
I'm going to go 1-0 Met Police.
Oh, you're back in the away teams.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to be different, James is gonna do that. Nothing wrong with that either, James. So.
You still have to tweet us your answers, though.
Yeah, I'll tweet the answers. Don't worry, I'll tweet the answers.
Can I ask something just quickly while I've got a little break? If there's anyone sitting on the Worthing coach that might be listening to this, if they want to tweet in any questions while we got the Lowestoft management here, please do so.
Formation.
Well, perhaps we could get the Worthing manager on, maybe.
Well, if he's listening, hopefully Omar did got his iPhone on and he's listening to this show. Perhaps he'll have a word with Gary.
Yeah, we get him on. Why not? Okay, right, moving on with the show. We're going to look at the top stories from across the non-league this week, and we're going to start with James, because James is always good for a story across non-league football.
Yes, got a very, very good story, and it's involving the league, actually. From the opening day of the season, they've taken some stats and had a look at the average attendances of people that have visited games from the opening day of the season, and apparently from the opening day of this season has seen an increase of 42% in the gate receipts and people who've come to visit. So throughout the entire 3 leagues, there was just under 10,000 people came to see games in the Bostik Premier North and South. In fact, the figure was 9,973. The biggest crowd of all in the Premier was at Billericay. That was just over 1,100, and that was the game against Kingstonian. In the Northern League, it was 384, and that was AFC Sudbury versus Canvey Island. And in the South Division, it was the glamour tie at Guernsey versus East Grinstead Town. So that was 743 people went to that game. So looking at the figures, last year the average turnout, the biggest turnout of all, 5,173 in the Premier, 2,520 in the South, and 2,280 in the league, compared with what it was last season. It was 3,735 in the Premier, 1,867 in the South, and 1,428 in the North. So it's a big increase compared to last season. That's very, very positive for the Bostik leagues.
Can I just say that any story that we now have from the leagues across seasons just put us to shame with all those stats and facts that it's just researched. Yeah. But it's an important topic, because that's great news for non-league football and great news for the Bostik leagues.
Yeah, I'll give you, for instance, when Merston played a pre-season game against Crystal Palace only a week or two ago, I fancied a lot of people are going to go down and watch Merston when Palace are not playing. So you're going to get a lot of sort of enjoyed the time over there. You can get a cup of tea quite quickly, bit of banter with the locals, and I think a lot of these people that have been paying extortionate money at Premiership level fancy the locality and the banter.
And Ady, Dale, do you think that is the reason that the pricing in the Premier League and even the Championship and League One, you're looking at £20-25 a ticket, people are just not prepared to pay it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's expensive. You know, if you want to take your son or your daughter with you as well, and your travel, your petrol, everything like accumulates to an expensive day out. But it's great news because, you know, let's just get into the non-league scene in this country and let's promote it and support it. And just on that point, you know, listen, I don't know Glenn very well. In fact, I don't know him. But listen, you know, a few more of you out there, if you've got a few quid in your pocket, come and invest it into a non-league club anywhere in the country, you know, and let's get non-league football thriving in this country.
Love it. You just didn't mention Lowestoft in that one.
No.
Mick, what have you seen across non-league football this week?
Right, my bit is 3 managers are gone from all different levels of football, which is quite interesting. Is that Kevin Nicholson has been sacked from Torquay after 3 games, which is unreal. Okay, he only got 1 point, but it's unbelievable that someone can be dismissed that early. And then, you know, it's come down into the non-league even deeper, like with Danny Lai leaving Ashford United. And, you know, I think a lot of these things happen in close season or pre-season games. It doesn't just happen in those 2 games of league games. I think there's obviously some unrest prior to that. And last but not least, which is the real shock, James Collins from Cray Valley from the Southern Counties League, basically 6 points on the board, sitting sort of second in their league, and he's gone. So it's quite unreal. There's 3 managers from 3 different levels of the non-league game. And obviously, I'm looking here at Ady and Dale, and they ain't got no hair on them, so they must look like they must go through nerves every week whether they're going to keep their job.
It's interesting. It's interesting, but I don't know the stats. We've got Stato James there. Maybe he can find out for us. But you know, in a situation like this, I think sometimes you look at how the club finished the season. You know, and if you didn't win the last 8 games or 9 games, 10 games, and then you know you don't start very well, I think you're looking at, all right, it may be only 3 games in, but if you haven't won a game for sort of 10, 12 games, then maybe, you know, they get twitchy feet, don't they, these chairmen?
Dale, can I just step in? I can remind you, I did think you went on a downward spiral at the back end of last season, and you have not won your first 2 games.
That's what I mean. Just trying to get the manager out.
I love it.
No, but that is the case. And listen, if your chairman is a bit jittery, then he throws that at you. You know, I mean, listen, you know yourself, when you're recruiting managers in the first place, it is about statistics now. You look at their win ratios. It's not just about who they are, where they've played, or where they've managed. You know, it's how many games they've won, and it's getting that way.
It's a worrying trend, though. I think coming from professional football, where managers are, you know, in the spotlight all the time, and some clubs will go through 2 or 3 managers in a season. We were talking about a little earlier about the disillusionment of supporters going to those clubs. I think it's a worrying trend if managers are non-league clubs, when they're not dealing with massive budgets. They've got so much, they give so much of their own time up towards clubs. If they're treated in similar ways to professional clubs and, you know, sacked after 3 games is absolutely crazy to me.
We mentioned this last week on the show. We had Frank Wilson, who'd obviously got Tooting and Mitcham United promoted, and actually said to him, and is this a fair comment, that the pressure is not as, obviously you don't have to worry too much about your job at this level, because you're, like you say, you're at a club for a long time, you're looking at lots of other things, not just promotions. And Frank actually, he sort of said, well, they know the chairman should do well to remember what we achieved last season, and then they got hammered on Tuesday night. So perhaps I don't know whether he will be then looking over his shoulder.
Look, I'm the best one to answer that question. I was at Leverhead, we got promoted, and I only had 5 games to start the following season. So there you go.
Yeah. It just depends. Obviously, it just depends on your chairman, doesn't it? I mean, you know, maybe there's a message out there to anyone who wants to be a manager. You know, you do sort of your due diligence, and if it's a sacking club that you're going to, then leave it alone.
You mentioned just a moment ago, you said if anyone wants to come and invest in non-league football, but perhaps that is the thing that then creates, you put your money in. If you had £1 million and you put it into a football club, perhaps then you would be a little bit under pressure, wouldn't you?
But as a manager, you've got to decide whether that's for you or not, haven't you? I mean, if you want to be involved with that, then you've got to take the good with the bad. I think, you know, that's my opinion.
That's exactly what Craig Edwards did last year.
He walked away,
he could have been involved in what they're doing this year, but said it wasn't for him.
Wasn't for him.
Oh, I didn't know that. He actually walked away because it weren't stiff.
I think, as my understanding, I mean, Craig would be the best person to do it. That Glenn obviously has put his money in. He wanted to run the team, wanted to keep Craig with him, basically as his assistant.
Oh, right,
and,
okay.
And Craig said, no thanks, I
Right.
don't want that.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's almost time that you guys are going to leave us on the show, so thank you ever so much for coming in and joining us today. We really look forward to, obviously, the game later on this afternoon. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the show, how important the game is, having had a couple of really difficult games to start, and this is perhaps a game where you feel you can really kick off your season.
Yeah, we need a win. It's that simple, really. We've had 2 tough games. Every game in this league is tough. You don't get an easy ride, and if you're not right in any game, you get turned over. So, we've got to transfer some of the form that we've shown in the 2 games into today's performance, and we need points. And quite honestly, I'd sit here now and say that I'd happily play poorly today and win the game. That's how important it is for us to get 3 points. But ideally, we'd like to put in a good performance and get 3 points, and then move on from our first 2 games.
We wish you all the best for the game this afternoon. Obviously, we'll speak to you after the game as well. We're almost at the halfway point of the show today. As we said, you can get in touch on social media, official BOTN, if anything that we talked about takes your fancy today. Right, this is for James and Mick, and we did this last week. It's called Who Am I? It's where we play you a little clip. Mick didn't enjoy it last week because it wasn't his neck of the woods, as he said. So we're going to play you a little clip, and what you've got to do is you've got to have a listen, and you can do it wherever you're listening, and decide who this football club is. And here's your clip. Founded in 1884, the club reached their first major final in the 1999-2000 season, where they lost 2-1 to Leicester City in the then named Worthington Cup. During that very same year, they reached the quarter-finals of the FA Cup, but it was the following year that will live longest in the memory, after they came from 3-0 down to beat Southampton 4-3 to book their place in the quarter-finals. In the 2014-15 season, they were relegated to the National League after 94 years in the Football League. But who are they? There you go, that's your question. Who are they? Do you, any ideas? We can come back to you, just any ideas so far?
Orient, something like that.
Okay, that's Mick's suggestion. James, you got anything? You look very puzzled. We'll come back to it. Official BOTN across social media if you think you know, and we'll be back after this.
You're listening to Back of the Net, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do.
Times are changing. We now live in a digital world where 9 out of 10 people use the internet to look for local goods and services. Whether in front of a computer at home or on a mobile phone on the go, people expect to find what they want, when they want, quickly and easily. The question is, can your business be found? At Promote UK, we specialise in getting local businesses found online. One highly affordable package will give your business a stunning mobile responsive website, which we guarantee to get to the first page of Google and keep it there. And we take care of everything: copywriting, design, hosting. We even offer unlimited amends all year round for no extra charge. So, whilst you're busy focusing on your business, we're busy making sure it can be found online all year round. Start your Google Page One journey today with a free online health check by visiting promoteUKLimited.com. Promote UK. We're really good at what we do.
Are you looking for a little bit more than a good meal at a pub? The Half Moon is a hidden gem located in the picturesque village of Charlwood on the Surrey-Sussex borders. Proud of old traditions, this old English pub offers tasty fresh food with locally sourced ingredients, comfortable dining and traditional bar area, as well as a lovely garden for your enjoyment. Evening with friends or lunch with family, whatever the occasion, you can expect our friendly and welcoming staff to help. Half Moon Charlwood. Check out our Facebook page for upcoming events and live music.
Need to refuel? Whether you're heading home or away, get ahead of the game and refuel at Dorking's Service Centre. Dorking's local retailer of quality BP fuel, Costa coffee and food to go. Find us at the traffic lights close to Dorking Halls or at dorkingservicecentre.com.
From Premiership to Playground, MH Goals has everything you need for an outstanding football match, including aluminium and steel football goals, nets, line marking machines, team shelters, boot wipers, and much more. Buy with confidence direct from the manufacturer with great prices available across our whole range of sports equipment. What's more, we offer fantastic discounts for all FA affiliated clubs. We pride ourselves on British manufacturing. We make all our football goals here in the UK and conform to the latest British and European safety standards. So call MH Goals direct on 01502 711 298 or visit our online store at mhgoals.com.
Back of the Net, the official partner of the Bostik Leagues. Join us from 2:30 for live coverage from today's game. Back of the Net, where it matters. Back to your favourite non-league football show, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do. Back of the Net, where it matters.
Welcome back to the show this lunchtime. We're live from Lowestoft Town Football Club today. Delighted to be here. We've got an hour left of the show. And as we mentioned, get in touch on social media, official BOTN, across all platforms. Now, we set up Who Am I before the ad break. And with Mick and James looking a little bit puzzled. So I'm going to play the clip for you once more. Founded in 1884, the club reached their first major final in the 1999-2000 season, where they lost 2-1 to Leicester City in the then named Worthington Cup. During that very same year, they reached the quarter-finals of the FA Cup, but it was the following year that will live longest in the memory after they came from 3-0 down to beat Southampton 4-3 to book their place in the quarter-finals. In the 2014-15 season, they were relegated to the National League after 94 years in the Football League. But who are they? See, I thought that was a really easy one, and that's why I left out the sort of culture sides of it and the railway lines. And if I'd have given you the river, then there would have been no issue with this at all. That would have been, you'd have got it straight away. So I'm going to go to, I think Mick knows it, so I'm going to ask James first. Who do you think it is?
I'm going to say Bristol Rovers.
Okay, Bristol Rovers for James. Mick, who are you going to go for?
Well, I'm worried whether I've got Tranmere.
And the answer is Tranmere Rovers.
Yes!
Yes! Mick's a very happy man. They lost to Leicester City in the final of the what was then called the Worthington Cup. And they obviously got relegated first time in 94 years that they got relegated as well. So
not happy with that.
Yeah, and if I'd have given you the river, obviously the River Mersey, you'd have got that as well. That was the 1999-2000 season when they lost 2-1 to Leicester. Famous victories in the FA Cup. They were 3-0 down to Southampton and they won 4-3, which is a really famous game back in the FA Cup in 2000-2001. And they also beat Everton on that cup run as well. Their local rivals 3-0. So a lot of history at the football club, and some would say now playing far too lower level, as they've a huge stadium at Prenton Park.
Massive stadium. There's a lot of clubs which are in the National League at the moment, which are, of course, you're looking at a prime example of this season, Leyton Orient. Massive crowd they've had there on their first home game of the season, and they are big teams, and you think to yourself, they should not be in that league. They should still be league clubs. But that's the way football is. They're there and they need to get themselves out of the league.
Okay, next up on the show, we're going to hear from Drax Hippolyte. The Staines Town manager had a really good result against newly promoted Tooting and Mitcham United on Tuesday night. They won 6-0, and they also managed to draw at Dulwich Hamlet on Saturday when they weren't fancied for that game. Here's what he had to say. 2 games into the season, and Dulwich Hamlet away, which many would say was a really good result, and then a 6-0 win in the second game. You must be a very happy man.
Very happy. Sometimes when pre-season goes well, the season itself don't. But to be fair, the pre-season was excellent, and we've taken that form into the start of the season, which is really, really pleasing. Dulwich Hamlet, for me, is one of the favourites to win the league. So to go there and get a draw was excellent, in my opinion. And Tuesday we were really, really, really good. Every man hit, their peak at the right time. We were 2-0 up after, 15 minutes, and it could have been 4. And then they had a man sent off and we just carried on really in that big train of form.
And it's really interesting because I spoke to you at the end of last year, and you went on a really good run. You were unbeaten for a while as well. I think it was 8 matches that you
We lost one in 13.
Yeah, really, really great run at the end of the season. And there seemed to be a sense when you came on our show that this year was going to be a really good year for Stainstown.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I mean, it was important. We haven't got the most competitive budget in the league. Everybody knows that. But I thought it was important if we got the one or two right players, it could make a big difference, because the nucleus of what we had, I thought, wasn't bad. And I think I've done that. We've signed maybe 4 players that have really helped to push us on.
How far can you go this season with the likes of Billericay and Dulwich and Margate with a bigger budgets?
Well, realistically, we should finish around 9th, budget-wise. But I'd be disappointed if we're maybe not a little bit higher than that. I'd be disappointed if we're not 8th or above, in all honesty. But the difference between us and the big budget teams is the squad in depth. On Tuesday, we had one player on the bench who was 17 years old, another one who was 20. And that's the difference with your Billericay's, in that the squad depth of strength is a difference. But if we stay a little bit lucky with injuries, I think we'll have a very, very good season.
Obviously, you're at home again against Kingstonian this weekend, another tough test.
Yes, without a doubt. I watched Kingstonians on Monday. They're a good side. They play some good football. It won't be easy, but if we play like we have been playing, I'll be disappointed if we're beaten. But football's a funny game, and sometimes it can turn around and bite you on the butt, let's say. But if we turn around and we work as hard as we have been doing and play like we have, we'll get something out of the game.
Back of the net, where it matters.
Yeah, Drax Hippolyte, the Stainstown manager, and they are the Swans, aren't they? I've got that right. They're the Swans. Stains.
I think so.
Yes, they are. I think they are the Swans.
Know anything about Swans? Anybody?
I know they're the property of the Queen. You can't kill them.
Remy, any information about Swans?
Babies are cygnets.
We'll come back to you.
They're typically very aggressive and angry, and they live in pairs. And I think if one dies, the other one dies of heartbreak. But I'll have to check that. They're like blossom trees.
Maybe there's a few questions for Drax next time we speak to him. He mentioned there about the budgets again, Mick, and I know we talked about this before, but again, one of the lowest budgets in the league. Is that true with Stainstown, do you think?
Well, I'm not so sure about that. They've come down from conference, and they've got a lovely stadium. I would have thought there would be a little bit of money behind them. But the one thing I will say about Drax, and I don't know him personally, but he seems the type of guy that will get out there and go and watch games and go and watch people that are from even lower levels. But his phone book must range very from top to bottom, from conference players right way down into sort of step 5. So I think he's got the ability to unearth a few diamonds as well, which might help the situation from his lack of budget, possibly.
And they've got a good chance this year to obviously improve on what they achieved last season. They had a really strong finish to the year. It was a bit strange because they drew a lot of games, but they looked solid, they looked strong, they didn't have many defeats. I think he mentioned in the interview it was 1 defeat in 13 at the end of last season. What do you think they can achieve this year?
Well, I think they can be up there. Drax is sort of. I like the fact that he said that they're going to be in. He wants to be in the top 8. Realistically, he wants to be in the top 5. He's not gone as far to say that, but I think he's the type of guy that probably could get a good team spirit going there, and so I wouldn't rule them out to be there or thereabouts.
And let's talk about Tooting and Mitcham United. We watched them last week, 6-0 defeat, second game of the season. We were a little bit worried about them on that first game. And we didn't see, I think we mentioned in commentary, we didn't really see enough from them. And then they go and get beat 6-0. Is that a worry for Frank Wilson at Tooting?
I did speak to Frank during the week, and he didn't seem too overly worried. I think the fact that he played a lot of that down to a player being sent off reasonably early in the game, which sort of made it a bit of a cricket score at the end. But I just felt physical strength they maybe lacked in areas, and obviously he had his big centre forward out on Saturday, so we didn't get to see him, which would have helped them. So that little bit of manly strength maybe showed a little bit on Saturday, and obviously I'm not so sure how many goals they're going to get. They haven't scored a lot of goals yet, have they? I know it's only 2 games, but whether they're going to be prolific in front of goal, that could come back to hurt them.
And we look forward to seeing Stainstown in person, and actually we're covering them in November when they play the reverse fixture of the first day of the season. They play at home to Dulwich Hamlet, so we look forward to that game in November. Okay, before we move on, let's just say that if you want to take part in Mick versus the manager, we've got a leaderboard going and you can do it on social media, official BOTN. And we've got, Remy, we can just remind everyone of the 4 games that we had today for Mick versus the manager. Mick, you confident you did well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I'm going to do okay today.
Okay, so our first game of the day was Dulwich Hamlet at home to Billericay Town. Then Leatherhead and Harrowborough, the 2 that are currently top of the table. Needham Market and Wingate and Finchley. And Enfield Town and Met Police.
So any of those games today, if you fancy having a bit of a prediction for those games and take on Mick and get yourself onto the leaderboard, it's official BOTN across social media. And if you are watching this again, then don't forget to play next Saturday. We'll have 4 more games for you next week. Next up on the show, it's Kit's Really Easy. So we've got Remy. Who's going to go first today? This is producer
It's my
Remy
turn to go first.
against producer Luke. So Luke needs to go outside. So Luke, if you can just disappear outside. Now this you can play along with again wherever you are, and it's where you need to tell me the colour of the home shirt or colours of the home shirt. So if, for example, it's Tooting and Mitcham United, it would be black and white stripes that we'd be looking for. James is the official adjudicator for this and has all the answers. So we're going to play the clips, and Remy, it's your job to go. You've got 30 seconds, by the way, Remy, to get through as many as you can, and it's going to be your job to decide what colour the home shirts are. That's all we need to do. So James, are you ready?
I'm good to go.
Okay, let's start the clock and let's go.
AFC Hornchurch.
Yellow.
Bowers and Pitsea.
Red.
Brentwood Town.
Blue.
Chestnut.
Chestnut? Chesthunt? That's really thrown me. I want to say brown because of a nut, but red.
Concord Rangers.
Green.
Dereham United.
Red.
East Thurrock United.
Red.
Grays Athletic.
Oh, blue.
And we'll give you blue, and that's it. 30 seconds is up.
Okay.
So we
Chestnut.
won't tell you how many you got. We'll get Luke back in, and Remy, you can obviously stay because you've done it. So we'll go get Luke. We'll bring him back in. Official BOTN across social media. Let us know how you got on, and let us know how many of those colours that you got for kits. I quite like this feature, James.
It's a really good feature, but I mean, 30 seconds is no time at all for this.
Producer Luke is in the hot seat now. He's got 30 seconds to do this, so we're going to start the clock. All we're looking for is the colour of the home shirt. Luke, you ready?
Let's do it.
Here we go.
AFC Hornchurch.
Yellow.
Bowers and Pitsea.
Blue.
Brentwood Town.
Blue.
Chestnut.
Red.
Concord Rangers.
Yellow.
Dereham United.
Red.
East Thurrock United.
Blue.
Grays Athletic.
Grey.
Chippenham Town.
Yellow.
Hampton and Richmond.
White.
Haringey Borough.
White.
Haventon Waterlooville.
White and greenish.
Lewes.
Yellow. Blue.
And let's stop the clock there.
Whew.
Did he have different ones to me?
No, he had exactly the same, but Luke, you did more, and also our voiceover guy has got a couple of those wrong, especially
Dereham.
Lewes.
And Dereham
Lewis.
as well.
Yeah, so
And
it's
Chestnut.
in fact, I can reveal that when we got the voiceover guy to do this, he has done a lot of options for some of them.
Yeah.
So, and we obviously we haven't cut them all down, but
Chestnut.
that was all right, wasn't it?
It's Chess Hunt.
Yeah.
Dereham United.
Dereham.
That's correct.
Dereham United.
Okay,
It's
and
the Lewis, isn't
what
it?
would we say? Chestnut was the one that threw you, didn't it?
Yeah, I was like, chestnut.
Okay, so
Sorry, Remy can come back.
right, Luke, you come back on the mic over here. Remy, if you sit down there. James did the research for this morning, so he went through all of the kits and he's got all of the answers. So, James, let's go through the teams, starting with AFC Hornchurch at the top and reveal the colours before we get the scores.
Okie dokie. So we're going with AFC Hornchurch. They were red and white. Same with Bowers and Pitsea. Brentwood Town was blue. Chestnut was black and yellow. Concord Rangers was blue and yellow. Dereham Town, I even got it wrong. Dereham Town was black and white. East Thurrock United was yellow and black. Grays Athletic was blue and white. We didn't get Chippenham Town because apparently it says Chippenham Town on there for some reason. So that was the reason why I couldn't find Chippenham Town there. So that's null and void from the Chippenham Town.
Hang on a minute. So
Chippenham Town.
So what had happened was producer Luke had written down Chippenham Town because he obviously. Hang on, let's play the clip. Let's play the clip.
Chippenham Town.
So why is it Chippenham Town?
I heard Chippenham.
So basically, Earlier on today, producer Luke was listening through to these, and this is what the voiceover guy... So Luke obviously doesn't know all of the teams in the league. The voiceover guy said this.
Chippenham Town.
Clearly Chippenham Town, isn't it?
Chippenham Town.
Once more? Hang on, once
I'll
more.
go with Ben.
Let's do this once more for everybody listening.
Chippenham Town.
Chippenham Town.
It's Chippenham.
Never heard of Chippenham Town. So
Right,
James,
let's
I tell you what I'm going to do.
Let's keep going.
You keep going. I'm going to Google.
Okay, right. Hampton and Richmond was blue and red. Haringey Borough was yellow and blue. Havant and Waterlooville was white and yellow. Lewis, not Lewes, was black and red. Then we got to the others we never even got to. Ramsgate was red. Romford was yellow and blue. Tilbury was black and white. VCD Athletic was green and white. Wildston was blue and white. Lots of white. Whiteleaf, unsurprisingly white. And Whitsom Town was white and blue.
Right, and I can officially tell you that
Chippenham Town.
we're blue. So,
Chippenham Town.
and apologies, real apologies. I think we need to apologise to a couple of clubs. First of all,
Lose.
a big apologies to you. And is it Dereham Town?
Dereham Town.
So apologies to
Dereham United.
whoever they are. We're not sure. Okay,
Oh,
so
no.
Did we get
Still
any-
like Chestnut.
no.
do we
And they
get-
play in black and white. So I said brown. So maybe a little bit of a point because you did say chestnut at me.
Hang on a second.
Did we get any interesting answers? So what were were there any differences?
I'll have to listen back, to be perfectly honest.
Did you not write down? You just wrote down.
I just wrote down, I did the colour of the shirt
Okay.
and the shorts, which I thought we did last week.
No,
Yeah, I'm not
we've
doing
canned the shorts.
We've canned the shorts. Okay.
But we
Right.
could go through the shorts again and do
No.
Dereham United.
or my favourite, which is
Chippenham Town.
Chippenham Town.
let's get the scores. Official
Right,
scores.
okay, scores as following. That was unbelievable. Right, Luke got 3, Remy got 4.
How did this happen again?
2-0.
Remy wins again.
Must have been quite nice for you, Mick, to just watch and let somebody else sweat under the competition.
I want to know who the voiceover guy is.
Where's Chippenham Town?
Chippenham Town.
No.
Maybe we should go there in November.
The voiceover guy that does all our jingles, and I think we can just let him off.
Lose.
We'll move on with that one. Okay, right, let's move on with the show. And again, let us know, official BOTN, if you want to tell us how many kits that you guessed on the show today. Right, Elliot Stiles is an AFC Hornchurch player. He's managed 500 appearances for the club last week. Very impressive as well. So I caught up with him yesterday. 500 appearances for AFC Hornchurch. That's quite an achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great achievement. I don't think you really realise the impact when it's affecting yourself. But no, I'm very pleased to achieve something like that. It just goes to show I've kept myself fit and kept myself informed, and obviously kept in favour with the manager. He clearly likes what I do for the club and the team as a player, and why he's keeping my shirt at Hornchurch. So yeah, no, I'm obviously it's a proud achievement for myself, and just keep going on and doing what I like doing. That's just playing football.
Can you remember when you first started for Hornchurch?
Oh yeah, I remember. It was very hard, very tough to break in at Hornchurch. It's obviously a club I've wanted to get involved with. So it's got a fantastic reputation in non-league, and it's something I wanted to be a part of. And I can remember it so clearly, and it was fantastic to have a testimonial in the summer, in the close season. And it was great to have all the players back who were in the team at the time, stopping me getting a starting place. So it was nice to have everyone back and sort of bring back memories, really.
Talking of memories, what's your best memory in those 500 games?
It's always been the same game, and that was Weymouth away in the FA Cup. Everything was stacked against us. They were full-time. I think they were in the first top 6 of the Conference National. A few England C players, they were at the top of their game. And we went down there, stayed down there the night before, and it made you feel like a full-time player by being in a hotel with your mates, having breakfast together, riding to the game. And we performed. We put on a fantastic performance, especially to go 1-0 down as well, and come back and nick it in the last few minutes. To reach the first round proper, it's a fantastic achievement all round. And that is by far the best game I've had for Hornchurch, and the most important game.
It must be nice and also maybe strange at the same time, having played all those games, to now be that kind of mentor to the younger players and having been there and done it?
Oh, it's strange. It's strange. It creeps up on you, the age thing. I remember starting off when I was really young, and when you first started men's football, obviously it's men's football for a reason, because they're actually men. You're just a young boy, and but before you know it, you're in that category of the seniors, one of the senior ones in the changing room. You tend to find yourself sitting with all the senior boys. You're not in with the young crowd anymore. So out of nowhere, it catches up with you. And but in mind, you still feel young and energetic. And I try and keep myself fit every year, and try and sort of develop my game to make up for the other attributes that comes with age that you lose, which is speed and other things. So you're trying to develop your game elsewhere to keep warrant the starting spot in the team. So you always have to evolve with it. So more ways than one. But yeah, it's strange being one of the older guys now. It is strange, and some of them do remind me of being one of the older ones now.
Yeah, I bet.
Training and that.
I bet they do. But I mean, 2 games played this year. You've seen obviously so many different teams at Hornchurch. 6 points on the board. What's achievable with this squad this season?
It is a very strong squad this year. It is, and it's one of the strongest squads that we've had at the start of the season. Obviously, as a manager, throughout the year, you have difficult situations through injury or people move on, and you change throughout the year. But it's nice to start off with a very strong squad, and if we can build on the momentum we've gained in the first 2 games, it could be a promising season all round. And I think everyone else at the club can feel the excitement and a lot of hope for what's ahead of us. And I think the management and the board have done well recruiting how they've done so far, and it could be a very successful year. So I'll just take each game as it comes and go from there, really.
You mentioned the word management there. Dare I say management coaching, is that something that you see yourself maybe moving on at this club or another club in the future?
Oh, well, I try not to sort of plan that too far ahead. I can see myself being involved in football. It'd be a fantastic honour to be a part of the management at Hornchurch. Being a player there, you can obviously pass on your advice and experience to players if you've been there and done it yourself. So that would be an advantage. But at the moment, I still have my playing days in me, and I'm concentrating on them for the time being. But I would never rule out management or coaching of any format.
For the best highlights from across the Bostik Leagues, visit youtube.com/back of the net.
Yeah, really enjoyed that chat with Elliot Stiles, the AFC Hornchurch player. Played 500 games. Mick, it was fascinating when you speak to somebody that's got that amount of experience, that's been at that club for that amount of time.
Fantastic achievement, and for that amount of games, he obviously didn't get too many injuries. So, and I'm just curious to know how old he is. Maybe about 27, 28, possibly, to get that amount of games in. Maybe a bit older.
I think he's slightly older, yeah. But it was, he was saying that he's obviously played it down quite a bit, and being mentors for those players though is a huge thing when you've got somebody who's played that amount of games. We talked about it earlier, young players coming through, players on loan. Is going to be vital to their progression, isn't he?
Yeah, totally. I watched them only a couple of weeks ago in a friendly, and they looked the real deal. And obviously, I fancy they're going to be in the top 2 of that division. And experience from people like him is only going to benefit all the players around him.
And have you worked with any players, clubs that you've been at to comes to mind at Merstham, that have got that experience and have been there and seen it, done it, and how influential can they be in a dressing room? How important can they be?
Chris Bolter, to name one. Hendry at Leverhead was another one that were really important. Craig Vernon, they're majorly important, and particularly if they're playing at the back, they're majorly important. They can hear voices around them, they can lead, and they can get your instructions across to the players rather than shouting and hollering from the sidelines.
And things, like last week we talk about cup runs and teams that are under pressure and needing to finish in the playoffs, and they can really make a difference, those sort of players.
Yeah, definitely. Keep a calm head. There ain't many of them around now. There's not. And if anyone's got one of those type of players in the team, as like Merstham, for instance, with Tutu, I'm sure Tutu would rather have lots of breathers, but you can't afford to give these sort of players breathers. They're so important for leadership on that park.
Yeah, we hope and we wish AFC Hornchurch all the best for the season. Elliot Styles, a fantastic achievement. Well done, 500 appearances. And just maybe at the end of the season, we'll be celebrating promotion. Next up on the show, we're going to do Spit It Out, which is, again, a favourite of mine after week one. Remy's going to do it this week. The idea behind this is that we have a quote from players and managers, and we have to guess what they said. Who are we kicking off with this week?
Okay, so this is something that Slaven Bilic has recently said.
So we're moving into the Premier League. Slaven Bilic said this earlier in the week. Okay, let's see if we can get it.
It's not around here something you are mentality. You can't listen and you can't
Okay, I got.
You can't buy you can't buy.
You can't buy iron. I got.
You can't buy iron. You can't buy something. I don't have a clue. What?
Can you read it again for us?
Okay. It's not around here. You can't You can't You can't listen, and you can't
Okay, I reckon part of that was you can't buy mentality, but I don't know what the rest of it was.
I ain't got a clue, but I'm going to put it out in my tweet.
You can't buy iron.
It would make sense considering he's a West Ham manager.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there we go. So you can't buy mentality was definitely in there, but Remy, what was he trying to say?
Okay, so he was talking about chairmans and that not all clubs have big budgets, and it went on that it's not a guarantee. Some things you can't buy. You can't buy mentality, you can't buy tradition, and you can't buy time.
And you can't buy iron.
Or iron. Well, you probably can.
Well, we got a little bit of that, but probably not enough to warrant any sort of point. Right, who's next up?
Okay, so this is something that Tony Pulis has said.
Okay, Tony Pulis, the now West Brom manager. I always have to remember where he is and what he said earlier in the week.
He had just how important is TRANE.
Sounds like you're doing the alphabet.
I was going to say Tony Pulis is spelling something out. Okay, let's go from the top. Let's what did Tony Pulis say? Here we go.
Just how it is to keep our heads in A.
To keep our heads in A&E, I heard.
Now it's here. I heard it in
Okay, I'm not going to say what I thought that last word was. But I'm with you. I think he said something about trying to keep his players out of A&E.
Yeah.
So it's really important to keep your players... Well, it is important to keep your players out of A&E.
It is important to keep your players out of hospital. I haven't got a clue what you're saying.
What did Tony Pulis actually say?
Okay, so Tony Pulis has signed a 1-year contract extension to keep him at West Brom until 2019 and has said, we can never underestimate just how important it is to keep our place in a league that is now the most famous and most followed in the world.
Our place in the league.
Rather heads than in A&E.
I had absolutely no idea. Have we got any more?
We have 2.
Should we do one more?
Let's do one more.
One more.
Which one should we do? Who do you want to hear from? Ronald Koeman or Max Crocombe?
Ronald Koeman. Let's do the Premier.
I would have gone Max Crocombe because of the name.
Who's Max Crocombe?
Max Crocombe is the goalkeeper from Salford City.
Yeah, go on. Let's hear from him. Let's see what he's had to say this week.
Right.
This is Max Crocombe, the golfer
from
Salford City. We're off to a bad start. Here we go.
Come on.
Spit it out, Ren.
I can't say no. Yeah, say together. I didn't think it was a long connection.
I've got it. So this one was easier. He's saying that we went to see La La Land together, but we didn't have a connection. So I think he went on a date.
Yeah.
Because there was definitely a La La in there,
I
wasn't
didn't
there?
expect La La Land
I
to
had
be so
connection as
long,
well.
but I didn't get
Yeah.
the connection with it.
I think he went on a date to see La La Land, but he didn't have a connection. Mick, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think you pretty much got it in the
spot
back.
on.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Right, let's see if I got it spot on. What did Max Crocombe have to say?
Okay, so Salford City's new back three have been reported to look like they've been playing for years. Keeper Max Crocombe, impressed with the new signings, commented the following on Danny Livesley and Liam Hogan. They've got nothing left to prove as such, but they are great to play behind. They know exactly how to play together. I didn't think it would take long to create a connection.
So nothing to do with La La Land then?
You're close.
Yeah. Where have we got that from?
Absolutely nothing.
So we're pretty hopeless today with those. That was Spit It Out. Thanks very much, Remy. Loads more to come on the show. Malcolm Porter, the South Park manager, after their brilliant start to the season. And we also speak to Anthony Gale, the Walton Casuals manager, after this.
You're listening to Back of the Net, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do.
Times are changing. We now live in a digital world where 9 out of 10 people use the internet to look for local goods and services. Whether in front of a computer at home or on a mobile phone on the go, people expect to find what they want, when they want, quickly and easily. The question is, can your business be found? At Promote UK, we specialise in getting local businesses found online. One highly affordable package will give your business a stunning mobile responsive website, which we guarantee to get to the first page of Google and keep it there. And we take care of everything: copywriting, design, hosting. We even offer unlimited amends all year round for no extra charge. So, whilst you're busy focusing on your business, we're busy making sure it can be found online all year round. Start your Google Page One journey today with a free online health check by visiting promoteUKLimited.com. Promote UK. We're really good at what we do.
Are you looking for a little bit more than a good meal at a pub? The Half Moon is a hidden gem located in the picturesque village of Charlwood on the Surrey-Sussex borders. Proud of old traditions, this old English pub offers tasty fresh food with locally sourced ingredients, comfortable dining and traditional bar area, as well as a lovely garden for your enjoyment. Evening with friends or lunch with family, whatever the occasion, you can expect our friendly and welcoming staff to help. Half Moon Charlwood. Check out our Facebook page for upcoming events and live music.
Need to refuel? Whether you're heading home or away, get ahead of the game and refuel at Dorking's Service Centre. Dorking's local retailer of quality BP fuel, Costa coffee and food to go. Find us at the traffic lights close to Dorking Halls or at dorkingservicecentre.com.
From Premiership to Playground, MH Goals has everything you need for an outstanding football match, including aluminium and steel football goals, nets, line marking machines, team shelters, boot wipers, and much more. Buy with confidence direct from the manufacturer with great prices available across our whole range of sports equipment. What's more, we offer fantastic discounts for all FA affiliated clubs. We pride ourselves on British manufacturing. We make all our football goals here in the UK and conform to the latest British and European safety standards. So call MH Goals direct on 01502 711 298 or visit our online store at mhgoals.com.
Head to backofthenetsouth.co.uk tomorrow morning for video highlights and full match reaction of today's games. Back to your favourite non-league football show, powered by Promote UK. We're really good at what we do. Back of the Net, where it matters.
Welcome back to the show today. We're live at Lowestoft Town Football Club ahead of their game against Worthing. You can listen to commentary from 3 o'clock. We've got the final whistle coming up a bit later as well. 6 o'clock where we react to all of the day's football today, just in the Bostik Premier League. Of course, the other teams are in FA Cup action this afternoon. And plenty more to come on the show. A bit later on, we're going to hear from Anthony Gale, the Walton Casuals manager. They've got some really interesting things happening at the club, and £18 million new ground to move into as well. Before we do that, we're going to hear from Malcolm Porter, the South Park manager. Absolutely brilliant results so far for them. They played 2 promoted teams, and I caught up with Malcolm yesterday to hear what he had to say about their chances this season. 2 wins from 2. +9 goal difference after 2 games. You must be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, you couldn't ask for a better start. I think when we knew that playing 2 newly promoted teams, it was going to be tough. I think the expectancy was that we would get the results, but that doesn't mean anything. We've got to go out there and get the points, and kind of 4-0 and 5-0 to start off the season. Clean sheets, 9 goals. Couldn't wish for a better start. So yeah, very happy indeed.
And you mentioned that the 2 new promoted teams, but that just shows the people will be looking at those results and thinking, well, South Park mean business this season, because they're the games that perhaps sometimes you can slip up on.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think we didn't go. We weren't complacent going into the games. We'd have both teams watched. We knew what they were going to be like. I think it'd probably be fair to say there's going to be some tougher challenges to come. And I suppose in answer to your question, we do mean business this year. I mean, I suppose we mean business every year. We want to get better. We want to improve. As I said, the kind of the results. It's just kind of 2 results at the start of the season. I mean, our first season in the league, we won our first 2 games, and we were top after 2 games, and we finished 14th. Last year, we lost our first 3 games and went our best ever season. So at the moment, it doesn't really count for much, apart from the fact that it's a good start, and we've done the job that we felt we should have done against 2 newly promoted teams.
And they say that the first 10 games of the season are really important, because after 10 games you can look at the table and say, look, this is perhaps where the teams are going to be, and you can look at your team and say, this is perhaps what we need to do. Your 10th game is away at Corinthian Casuals. Is it fair to say that perhaps after that one you'll have a really good idea of what's in store this season?
Yeah, I think yes. I think that's fair to say. I think 10 games is always a good measure. You kind of like to see who's going to be where. I mean, I think it's fair to say we probably know the teams that are going to be challenging for the top 6 places. There's always going to be the odd surprise here and there. But yeah, come that Casuals game, barring cup runs and what have you, I think it will give everyone a good idea as to kind of who's genuine in the mix for promotion, who's in the mix for playoffs, and all the other places and stuff. And as always, as boring as it sounds, just got to take it game by game, and obviously look to continue to get better and improve and make sure. As I said, it's good winning 5s and 4s, but it's also going to be important. A 1-0 win at kind of a home to a Greenwich Borough or Lewis is equally as valuable. It all counts for 3 points. So we just got to make sure we continue to the levels that we've set over the first 2 games. We don't get carried away. We don't get complacent. We know that Haywards Heath on Saturday in the FA Cup, that's going to be a challenge. They, by right, should have been in the Ryman South last year based on finishing top. Obviously had a points deduction, which meant they weren't. They've strengthened their squad this year. They've got the manager, Sean Saunders, who took Peacehaven all the way up from Sussex County all the way up to Ryman Prem. So they know exactly. He's got good contacts. They've got great players down there. So from the scouting reports we've got for Shoreham, Ashford and Haywards Heath are the best out of the 3 teams. So we're going into there knowing the size of the challenge ahead of us.
And you're an interesting case study, because last season so much was made, and you got all the plaudits for a brilliant cup run in a couple of competitions, especially the FA Trophy when you went up to Tranmere and really did yourself justice. Is it fair to say that experience should help this year, but ideally you'd probably, to get promotion, you wouldn't want those cup runs perhaps, because it did take a lot out of you?
I think that we want to progress. We want to do well in the FA competitions. The FA Cup, the FA Trophy is the kind of like a secondary priority. We had a meeting last night where the players went through our goals for the season. Our primary goal is to make sure kind of like we improve upon our performance in the league last season and make sure we're finishing in the top places. And then we want to make sure as much as humanly possible we have good runs in both the FA Cup and the FA Trophy. We like the prestige. Obviously, it kind of comes with some prize money as well for that perspective. But I said the FA Cup and the FA Trophy, the other trophies, kind of less interest and what have you. But we'll be focusing on the league and the FA trophies, and the FA Cup and the FA Trophy. So we want to make sure that on Saturday, kind of like we hopefully we get a good result, and then look to get a good side for the second round and continue as long as we can do.
For the best highlights from across the Bostik leagues, visit youtube.com/back of the net.
We have some supporters of South. Remy's a big South Park supporter. It's obviously your closest non-league team to where you live. And Mick, you know a lot about South Park as well, and you've tipped them this season to do really well. You've been justified in that, because the start they've had, 2 newly promoted teams, sometimes that can be the teams that you slip up against, but they've done really well.
Yeah, they have, but it is only 2. But I'm always going to big them up. I say Malcolm won't like that, but they're a together club. They're close to my heart. You go down there, you feel most welcome. A lot of the players are all good guys. There's no messing about with them. They get stuck in. They can play some good football. They've got a good mix of everything. And just because maybe the cup runs and perhaps the pitch let them down too many games last year, that's why I fancy that they got their priorities right. Mappin and Joe got the priorities right this season. It looks like that the recruitments have been good. I know a couple of those players. And looking at the initiation video, which is fantastic from all three players, but obviously I know Josh well, and hopefully we can air that at some stage this week, possibly on our programme.
Yeah, we might be able to get that video up on our video.
We didn't give Mick an initiation to join our team.
No, we didn't. We'll have to think about that, actually. We'll see. Yeah, you can see the video now, hopefully, of the initiation for South Park, and it's quite funny. And I think a lot of clubs do it. Obviously, every team does it, but it's a great team bonding exercise.
Yeah, I think every club does it, and maybe we should make a little feature of it as the season goes in. It might be a good thing to add to the little features we want to keep adding. Might I add, like any of the supporters out there that are listening to the programme today, that maybe there'll be an opportunity in the coming weeks that will allow you to ring in and we'll air your views.
Yeah, definitely. And at the moment, as I say, official BOTN across social media. And if you do have any initiation ceremonies, then you can tag us in. We'd like to see them. And Remy, that's a fair point. I think we need to have a think about what mix will be.
Yeah, I'm just retweeting the South Park ones now. So if you head over to our Twitter feed, you will see them all there.
And you might need to just scroll down a little bit if you're watching this again during the week at your convenience. And Remy, you're big advocate of South Park. We watched them last year on that fantastic cup run. Went up to Tranmere, and they were worth the weight in gold there. I think they deserved something from that game.
Yeah, they've just got something about them that, I don't know, it feels quite rare, and I guess because it is my local club, and my younger brother, he's kind of gone through the kind of youth teams there and played for years at South Park as well. I guess there's that element to it, but it's just, it's a good club, it's well run, all the players are good friends. You see that friendship like on and off the pitch. We saw them at Horsham as well last season, and we saw them at Tooting and Mitcham. It's just a great club, and a team that I want to see do well. And last season when we had our kind of wages down, and I did back them as the outsiders, and they were on a huge momentum run from the FA Trophy, and then took that into the league, and then the congestion of games kind of got to them in the end with what Mick said earlier with the pitch. But overall, it wasn't a bad effort, and I think any team playing that many games in that space of time would probably wouldn't have done such a good job either. I think I hope that they can reach the playoffs. I just want them to keep going up.
And from one really good, well-run club to another, and we caught up with Anthony Gale yesterday, who's the manager of Walton Casuals. Really exciting for them. It's a great interview to listen to, and he talks about their new ground, the £18 million that's been built that they're going to be moving into, is what he had to say when I caught up with him yesterday. Great start to the season for you guys as well.
It's been a real challenging pre-season in the respect of losing as many players as what we did last year. However, it's been a good challenge, and one of which we've embraced, recruiting an extremely young squad, and one with tremendous promise. Average age in 22, so the average age is actually 22. So it's we're delighted because it's a youthful squad, and the emphasis and very much the philosophy it remains the same, that we're not just out there for 3 points. Yes, of course, 3 points is what we all want at the end of, or at 5 o'clock, but at the same time we want to develop players in the process and develop their understanding of the game and try and push them to the next level, because as a manager, if you can tick both of them boxes, I generally believe on the right path.
It's a very refreshing view and for a club to have. How does that affect setting targets for come the end of the season?
I think what each player has is they have their own individual targets in which they have their own individual direction in the respect of where they want to be as a player. I would never recruit a player that wasn't hungry to win things, but not just to win things for the team, but want to be a success for themselves. And the players that we've got all want to be successful. Everyone in that changing room wants to play at a high level. Everyone wants to become a better player, of which it makes my job so much more refreshing and infuses me and my staff, because it challenges ourselves to continually challenge them as well. It makes us think, which I think you very much embrace as a manager, and it's something that, I love my job, put it that way. I love doing what I do. I think there's no better reward in football than winning games of football and doing it while in the process of developing young players. I mean, our target, and I think every other target of every other manager in this division, everyone wants to aspire to be in the same place, and that's to be at the top half of the table and challenging to get in them playoffs. And whether our resources aren't as good as the top 10 clubs or top 12 clubs, if you like, within the league, but what we do have is a desire, a passion, and a willingness to not just want to better our players, but also better ourselves as a management team. And I think as long as you've got that hunger and determination, budgets and everything else go out the window, because we're extremely hungry to succeed this year.
Tell us about your new ground as well.
We'll be moving in on the 4th of September. The project has cost £18.5 million, which is going to be brilliant for the area of Walton. I think the area of Walton, I've grown up here myself, has been crying out for something like this. And having an £18.5 million facility of which we can call our home is not just exciting for the people of Walton, but extremely exciting for ourselves, because I remember the old Walton ground where I used to play. It was an interesting one, because 1 minute the ball would roll to your foot and the next minute it would be bobbling over your foot. So I don't think the same sort of bobbles will occur on a nice 3G surface within a fantastic environment of which we can call home, and it gives us the platform now to build on our academy and build on the youth, of which I've been quite strong on since I've had the job for 2 years. It's not just about developing the first team players, it's about looking beneath and seeing what's coming through. And I think people can see that by our lineup and our average age, that we're not afraid to give youth a chance, and this is more of a chance as well to unite the academy with the first team, and it's an even tighter link than what we've already got. There's 550 kids in our youth section, boys and girls, and it's something that has been worked on over not just the 2 years that I've been here, but it's been an ongoing process, and it really is nice to see. Really, it's nice to see a club wanting to go in the right direction and striving for greatness, which we're trying.
For all the best coverage from across the Bostik leagues, visit backofthenetsouth.co.uk.
Really, really good interview, Mick, that was, because talking all about developing players. We talked about this to Dale and Ady earlier. Developing players, young players, hunger. It was nice to hear, refreshing.
Yeah, and he's one of the new breed. He's obviously a talented coach. The old man's taught him a lot, but first and foremost, he was a coach, and he's now learning his manager spurs, which I suspect might be a little bit difficult on occasions. But you've got to remember, it's nice to hear that he wants to develop these players, but I don't suppose he's under any pressure. Tony is the chairman of that football club, and he would be given the opportunity to do that. We'd all like to do that at other clubs, or at least blood. I used to try and blood one or two youngsters in, but sometimes you've got to win games of football as well. So it's always a difficult challenge, sort of balancing that, from bringing these good youngsters in and giving them an opportunity and winning games of football. But I think Anthony's got the best chance at doing that, so I hope it really works for him. But it's quite interesting, because I obviously got a big connection with Walton Casuals, done a lot of work down there, managed them twice, and I'd like to see them rise to heights like other teams have. So I wish him good luck.
And a good start for them so far. And as you mentioned, they're moving into that £18.5 million facility, which is great for the area, great for the team.
I was looking at that only about 5 years ago, where hopefully I was going to be the manager moving into it being that time, but obviously time's passed and things move on. So yeah, I've seen it, and it's going to be fantastic, and hopefully that will get better players wanting to join them with a better facility. And I know how Anthony wants to play the game, and the 3G service is going to suit them.
You mentioned that your thoughts a few years ago. It's been a long time coming, that project. It's taken a while to get together.
Yeah, it has, and Tony has put a lot of time and effort into it behind the scenes, along with a lot of the other guys down there that I know, Paul and Duncan. Those three particularly have put a lot of time and effort, businessmen and time and money and all those sort of things, and it's come to fruition. So I can't wait to get down there and watch a game.
Yeah, neither can we. We look forward to going and visiting that new ground this side of Christmas, hopefully. Right, last part of the show today, and we're going to go through some of the fixtures because it makes it nice and easy for us today because there's only one division of fixtures. The North and South teams in FA Cup action, FA Cup qualifying action today. So Burgess Hill Town take on Folkestone Invicta. What do you fancy for that, Mick?
Fancy a draw, and hopefully we'll have both managers on at the end to find out how it went.
Yeah, two of the teams that last season were in and around the relegation zones. Do you expect that to be the same this year?
I think Chappers don't want to, it's getting a bit of a tag. He's been in that Prem and they've been down there flirting with sort of relegation for 2 seasons back to back. I think he definitely got the determination to want to make sure those boys are up there, and they've had a reasonable start. Along with Neil's Neil's so experienced, and he'll always be mid-table. He'd obviously want to be further up them, but definitely they're not going to be relegation candidates.
Margate against Leiston. Margate had a terrific start. One of the favourites we mentioned. Leiston, they've obviously got Matt Blake, who's a prolific scorer in this division, and Margate have got Franny Collins. So that's a battle of the 2 strikers in that game.
Yeah, another tight game. I fancy today, 1 goal in it or a draw. But yeah, I think Leiston keeping Matt Blake as sort of, I fancied that they might sort of dip down the league, but keeping him, he's always going to score goals.
And Merstham taking on Tooting and Mitcham United. Frank Wilson will want to bounce back after that defeat, and Merstham as well. They had a good start in the first game, but they want to get back on track at home. They'll see that as a very winnable game.
Yeah, I think Hayden will be smelling blood and seeing what happened on Tuesday night against Staines, and I think he'll have the troops at him very early, try and get an early goal and knock Tooting's confidence.
And Thurrock Dorking Wanderers, 2 newly promoted sides, and they've obviously Dorking Wanderers was nice to see that they got off the mark in the division in the last game against Metropolitan Police, but another big game for them today because you got to fancy your chances if you're going to do well in the league. Got to beat the teams like Thurrock, and that's no disrespect to them, but Mark White has made it very clear that he's looking towards those playoffs.
Yeah, if I was Mark, and I know Mark's ambition, and I know the team he's got down there, which are definitely going to be up and around there, that this is a game they should be winning.
And fascinating to come back to the game that we're at today, and Lowestoft against Worthing. We were talking to the guys earlier on about the game, but now those guys have gone ready to get ready for the game. What do you think about the game today, Mick?
Well, look, Worthing are probably sort of like nursing a few sort of upset egos and what have you the last couple of games, but they've lost a few good players, Worthing, and it takes a little bit of time to bed these new boys in. And Leveredge was a difficult game for Worthing away, and all the other issues about not playing their home matches for the next 4 or 5 weeks. They've got a lot of stuff going on in the background which probably don't help preparation, and that home sort of support, you do miss that, and they're going to miss that for the first few weeks. So coming up here, they know they've got to address the situation. Obviously Lowestoft have had 2 losses, so they'd be saying even Stevens. So you'd say, I'm looking at the 2 results, that Lowestoft being the home team should win it, but I'm rather hoping Omar, good mates of mine, and Anton and Kashani, that the new recruits down Worthing actually have a good travel up in the coach and they do the business.
We look forward to that immensely, and you can join us for commentary at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Also, as we mentioned, the final whistle is at 6 p.m, where we get reaction from all the games across the Bostik Premier League. Big thank you to Mick Sullivan, who will be joining us for commentary, James as well, and then producers Remy and Luke. That's it for our radio show today. Don't forget to join us at 3 o'clock, and if you're watching this for listen again, check out social media. It's official BOTN. See you next time.
For the best highlights from across the Bostik Leagues, visit youtube.com/back of the net.